Notizen noch ins Deutsche übersetzen, bitte? Okay, good evening everybody.
So, guten Abend allerseits.
Let's open with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
we thank you that we can gather together now to open your word
wir danken dir, dass wir hier zusammenkommen können, um dein Wort zu öffnen.
and help us to be especially attentive in these times
Und hilft uns ganz besonders in diese Zeiten aufmerksam zu sein.
and help us to consecrate our hearts now to you,
Und hilft uns, dass wir unserem Herzen dir weihen.
that we would follow and understand the things that are contained in your word.
Dass wir folgen und verstehen werden die Sachen, die in deinen Worten sind.
And please also explain to us more fully the Day of Atonement,
Und bitte erkläre uns auf völligere Weise die Versöhnungstag.
that we have a clear understanding for ourselves
Dass wir ein klares Verständnis für uns selbst haben werden.
and that we would pass this test.
Und dass wir dieses Test bestehen werden.
And we thank you for the light and the grace you impart to us through your word,
Und wir danken dir für das Licht und das Gnade, die du uns durch dein Wort zukommen lässt.
and that you give us hope and courage through the promises,
Und dass du uns Hoffnung und Ermutigung durch die Verheißungen gibst.
and that we can go forward keeping our eyes fixed upon Jesus.
Und dass wir vorangehen mit unseren Augen fest auf Jesus fixiert.
And so we ask and pray all these things in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten all dies in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
So there are some notes posted in the live stream group, and David will soon post also the German notes.
Also es gibt Notizen, die sind in der Livestream und die deutschen Notizen kommen gleich nach.
And I must excuse myself because I didn't have time to put them in a good format or order.
Und ich muss mich entschuldigen, weil ich nicht die Zeit hatte, sie in eine gute Reihenfolge oder Ordnung zu setzen.
So, but we will just work with those things that we have at hand.
Aber wir werden damit vorangehen mit das, was wir eben haben.
Okay, so let's go now and let's begin in Leviticus 16.
So, lasst uns anfangen, 3. Buch Mose 16.
And this speaks about the Day of Atonement.
Und das spricht über den Versöhnungstag.
And let's begin in verse 1.
Beginnen wir im Vers 1.
And we will read down to verse 9.
Und wir lesen bis Vers 9 hinab.
It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they offered before the Lord and died. And the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not, for I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. So now in verse 2 he speaks about that Aaron should not always come behind the veil.
So, jetzt spricht dann Vers 2, dass Aaron nicht allerzeit hinter den Vorhang kommen soll.
And we understand it was only on the Day of Atonement.
Wir verstehen, das war nur am Versöhnungstag.
And this is now what the Lord is continuing to explain here.
Und wenn wir so weiterlesen, das ist das, was der Herr erklärt.
It says, Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with a linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments, therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Okay, so according to verse 5, what
Vers 5.
kind of offerings was he to bring on the Day of Atonement?
Am Versöhnungstag, was für Opfergaben sollte er darbringen?
Sin offering and burnt.
Yes,
Sündopfer und ein Brandopfer.
okay. 2 goats for a sin offering and 1 ram for a burnt offering, right? For the
2
congregation.
Ziegenböcklein für ein Sündopfer und ein Widder für ein Brandopfer.
But we understand these 2 kids of the goats for sin offering, they were the ones that, the lot was cast over them, right?
Aber diese zwei Böcklein, wir verstehen, dass das ist, sind, worüber den losgeworfen
So
wird.
one got slain and the other was the scapegoat.
Die eine wurde geschlachtet, der andere war der Sündopfer.
So let's just continue reading and it will explain.
Sündenbock. Also lass uns weiterlesen, das wird sich erklären.
Verse 6, and Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. So he first had to make an atonement for himself, right?
So, musste auch eine Sühne für sich selbst bringen.
And verse 7,
Vers 7.
and he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So these are now the 2 goats, right? The 2 kids of the goats.
So, das sind diese zwei Ziegenböcklein.
And they were to be what kind of offering?
Und sie sollen was für ein Opfer sein?
Sin offering.
Ein Sündopfer.
Okay.
I have a question. In verse 6 it says the bullock is also sin offering.
Yes,
But
but
in verse 5 it was burnt.
no, this is
This
the bullock was in verse 3, right? It's the sin offering for Aaron.
So, der Ochs war im Vers 3 und das ist eine Sündopfer für Aaron und sein Haus.
And in verse 5, a ram is for a burnt offering for the congregation.
Vers 5 ist ein Widder, ein Brandopfer für den Versammlung.
So verse 7, this is now speaking about the offering for the congregation.
Vers 7 spricht über den Opfer für die Versammlung.
And he shall take the 2 goats, the sin offering, and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell and offer him for a sin offering. Okay, so which goat was now to be offered?
So, welche Ziegenböcklein soll geopfert werden?
The Lord's goat, right?
Das Herrenbock.
So, and he was offered as a sin offering, it says, right?
Und als ein Sündopfer würde er geopfert.
Okay, and this was the blood that then the high priest took and brought into the sanctuary, right?
Von diesem Opfer, der hohe Priester nahm das Blut ins Heiligtum.
And used this very blood to now blot out the sin of the congregation, right?
Dieses Blut wurde genutzt, um die Sünden der Versammlung auszutilgen.
Okay, so when we looked at the story of Isaiah and of Ezekiel, right?
So, wenn wir die Geschichte von Jesaja und Hesekiel anschauen,
What did we see? What kind of experience did they have in here?
was haben wir gesehen? Was für eine Erfahrung hatten sie hier in dieser Zeit gehabt?
Yes, they were morning, day and night, right?
Tag und Nacht haben sie gewechselt.
And so we have this day and night in here, right?
Tag und Nacht.
And also, we looked at the plagues, because this would be in one illustration the 6th plague, right?
Und wir haben auch die Plagen angeschaut, denn in eine gewisse Darstellung wäre dies hier der 6. Plage.
And what is happening under the 6th plague?
Und was geschieht unter der 6. Plage?
Yeah, the threefold union comes together.
Die dreifaltige Union kommt zusammen.
And what do they want to do?
Und was wollen sie tun?
They want to put you to death, right?
Die wollen dich töten.
And what will the saints do then in this time?
Und was werden die Heiligen in dieser Zeit denn tun?
No, fleeing is before, right? They will cry day and night.
Sie werden Tag und Nacht zum Herrn
So
rufen.
you have this day and night experience here, right?
Das ist diese Tag- und Nachterfahrung hier.
So now let's go to Revelation chapter 12.
So, lass uns in unseren Bibeln zu Offenbarung 12 gehen.
Let's begin in verse 9 and let's read down to verse 11.
Wir fangen in Vers 9 an und lesen bis Vers 11.
It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So when is Satan cast out?
So, wann ist Satan hinausgeworfen?
At the cross, right? When
Cross.
Christ said it is
Christus
done or
sagt,
finished,
es ist
right?
getan.
So right here,
Gerade
Satan
hier
gets cast out, right?
ist Satan hinausgeworfen.
Okay,
And that would be also when he falls from heaven like lightning.
yes.
Das wäre derselbe Platz, wo er vom Himmel wie ein Blitz fliegt.
Okay, so Satan cast out.
Also Satan hinausgeworfen.
In Matthäus, it's written, like before and like
Luke.
Okay. So now let's continue in verse 10.
So Vers 10, lesen wir weiter.
And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation. So when is the now?
So wann ist diese jetzt?
Satan is cast
When
out.
Satan is cast out.
Wenn
Okay,
Satan
so
hinausgeworfen
now is
ist.
come salvation. Right?
Jetzt kommt Erlösung.
And strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. So where was the accusation work done?
So, wo war diese Anklagewerk getan? Day and night.
Day and night. Beforehand,
Ja,
right?
davor.
Before he was cast down, he accused God's people day and night.
Noch
Okay?
bevor er hinausgeworfen worden ist, der hat Gottes Volk Tag und Nacht
Okay.
angeklagt.
So that's the work of accusation. Okay.
Das hier ist das Werk des Anklagens.
Okay. So Satan accuses you day and night, and you must pray day and night for deliverance.
Er klagt dich an, Tag und
Resist
Nacht.
him.
Und du musst
Okay.
Tag und Nacht beten für die Kraft, ihm wieder zu widerstehen.
Okay. And where do we see this illustration marked in the Bible, where Satan does this work of accusation?
Und wo sehen wir diesen Werk in der Bibel markiert, wo Satan diesen Werk der Anklage
Okay, yes, Job,
Also
Zechariah.
Hiob,
but Zechariah.
Zachariah.
So let's go to Zechariah chapter 3.
Lass uns zu Zachariah 3 gehen.
You're not making the point in verse 11. You missed the point
Verse 11. Okay,
because that's important.
let's just read Revelation 12, verse 11 before we go to
Also
Zechariah
noch
3.
bevor wir zu Zachariah gehen, lesen wir Offenbarung 12, Vers 11.
It says, and they overcame him, the accuser,
Also der Ankläger.
and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of the testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. Okay, so how do you overcome Satan?
So, wie überwindest du Satan?
give up your life.
Yeah, you give up. You're willing to give up your life. So that means you must be confronted with death, right?
Also, du bist bereit, dein Leben aufzugeben. Das heißt, dass du vor dem Angesicht des Todes kommen musst.
Yeah. So, and when you come face to face with death, what must you do
Und wenn du vor dem Tod kommst, was musst du tun?
according to this verse?
Gemäß dieses Vers? Testimony.
Yes, you must give a testimony, right?
Du musst ein Zeugnis
You
ablegen.
must confess Christ
Du musst Christus
in
bekennen.
face of death.
In der Angesicht des Todes.
Where do we see a story for this?
Und wo sehen wir eine Geschichte davon?
Yes, the 3 Hebrew boys, right?
Die 3 Hebräer.
Okay, so they confessed Christ and they were face of death and they were thrown into the fire
It's
furnace.
Luke 12, right?
Sie haben Christus bekannt
Yes.
im Angesicht des Todes und dafür wurden sie in den Feuerofen geworfen.
Okay, but so we can see basically, before Satan is cast out, you must come face to face with it.
Also
Right?
noch bevor Satan hinausgeworfen wird, können wir sehen, dass du vor dem Angesicht des Todes
And
kommen
we
musst.
understand that's here this very last bit where you have this last test, right?
Wir verstehen, dass genau am Ende hier ist, wo du dieser letzte Teil des Testes hast.
Okay, so now let's go to Zechariah chapter 3.
Jetzt gehen wir zu Zachariah 3.
Let's begin in verse 1.
Und fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, and he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. So that's now this battle between Christ and Satan.
So
Right?
dieser Kampf zwischen Christus und Satan hier.
Okay.
Vers 1.
So when Satan is resisting Christ, how is Satan resisting Christ?
Und wenn Satan Christus widersteht, wie tut er das?
Accusing.
Yes, using the work of accusation.
Indem er
Right?
das Werk der Anklage
Okay.
benutzt.
So this is now all this time here he's accusing until the very end. Right?
Das ist diese ganze Zeit hier, wo er Anklage bringt, ganz bis zu Ende.
Okay. And then verse 2.
Vers 2.
And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with a change of raiment. Okay, so
Das ist Vers 4.
how does Joshua look like in this story?
So, in dieser Geschichte, wie sieht Josua aus? Filthy.
Yes, he has filthy garments.
Er hat
Okay.
schmutzige Gewänder an.
So let me just share with you a quote.
So, lass mich nur ein Zitat
What?
mitteilen,
This means.
was das bedeutet.
Mm, okay. Posted a quote.
So, Zitat gerade gepostet.
German version comes also.
Das Deutsche kommt jetzt nach.
That's enough if we just read the first bit of this quote.
Und es reicht, wenn wir den ersten Teil dieses Zitates lesen.
It says, Satan was charging the people of God with all his attributes and presenting before them the sins he had instigated them to commit. Satan clothed their characters with his own filthy garments of sin, and nothing was lost in his reckoning of their misdeeds. But these souls who were represented as wearing the black robes of Satan's weaving in his hellish loom were not an appropriate representation, for they had repented of their transgressions. The Lord, who searcheth the heart and understandeth the imagination of the thoughts, had set their sins before them, and had given them the promise, If thou seek him, he will be found of thee, but if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. Okay, so why did they have these filthy garments on?
So, warum hatten sie diese schmutzige Gewänder an?
Oh, man, that's a nice quote. Say the other question again, please.
What are these filthy garments?
So, was sind diese schmutzige Gewänder?
Yes.
Satans Anklagen.
So Satan brings these accusations upon you,
So, Satan, er bringt diese Anklagen über dich.
and that's basically the filthy garments.
Und das sind diese schmutzige Gewänder.
Let's read the next quote.
So, lasst uns der nächste Zitat lesen.
Next quote or the next?
Quote.
Oh,
I posted another quote.
So, ich habe ein weiteres Zitat gepostet. Lasst uns das auch lesen.
you're not reading that? Okay.
It says,
That's very nice.
read.
Aus
I
Paul.
thought the end of that quote was very nice.
Okay, I didn't consider the end. You want to read the end?
Yeah, it
First
says,
quote.
because it says, you read the point, right? The Lord who searcheth the heart and understands the imagination of the thoughts had set their sins before them and had given them the promise. So the sins are set before them, they're given a promise. If thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. The Lord, the everlasting God, is ever present to observe, inspect, and examine all things. The hearts of all are read as an open book. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro through the whole earth. So he's giving you a promise right there, that if you seek him, and he's reading your heart at that point, right? Is that not what it says?
Also, wir haben den letzten Teil von diesem ersten Zitat gelesen und der Herr gibt eine Verheißung da, dass er dein Herz die ganze Zeit sucht oder sieht und wenn du ihm gehorchst, dann erhältst du diese Verheißung.
Talking about the time where your sins are set before you, right? The Lord reads your heart, sees your sins, and gives you an opportunity
Not to,
to repent.
Also der Herr legt deine Sünden vor dir und gibt dir eine Gelegenheit, Buße zu tun.
yes,
Okay, maybe I'm making too much of it.
Okay. yeah, we'll come to this point. Okay. So, but let's go to the next quote.
So, lass uns zu der nächsten Zitat in den Livestream gehen.
It says, Remove the filthy garments from them, with which wicked men have delighted to clothe them. Give them a change of raiment, even the white robes of righteousness, and set a fair mitre upon their heads. Okay, so the filthy garments
Also diese schmutzige Gewände
is what the wicked man will do to you. Okay?
ist das, was der böse Mann dir antun wird.
Because Satan, how will he accuse you?
Denn Satan, wie wird er dich anklagen?
through his agents,
durch
right?
seinen Agenten.
So he will use people.
Er
Okay?
wird Menschen benutzen.
And who will be your greatest enemies?
Und wer sind deine größten Feinde?
Former brother.
Former brethren,
Deine
right?
ehemaligen Geschwister.
And when we just go up to the quote again, the quote above,
Und wenn wir zu den Zitat davor gehen, ein
Let's-
weiteres Mal,
let's read again the beginning of the quote.
lass uns das Anfang des Zitates ein weiteres
It
Mal
says,
lesen.
Satan was charging the people of God with all his attributes and presenting before them the sins he had instigated them to commit. Satan clothed their characters with his own filthy garments of sin, and nothing was lost in his reckoning of their misdeeds. So what was not lost?
So, was ist nicht verloren gegangen?
It says nothing was lost in his reckoning of their misdeeds.
Nichts war
Keeps
verloren.
a record of their misdeeds.
Yes, so
The Pharisee.
if you just would consider it, okay.
Also wenn du es einfach mal kurz darüber nachdenkst.
We observe each other every day, right?
So, wir sehen einander jeden Tag.
And if you like it or not, you keep
Mental
knowingly or unknowingly a log of memory of many things that happen around you.
Ob du
Okay.
es nun magst oder nicht, wissentlich oder unwissentlich, du hast eine mentale Liste von all deinen Missetaten,
Around
die
you.
du siehst.
So, and if you fall away, Satan will just open this cupboard in your mind and then bring forth all these things. Yeah, you remember this, what you did, or that, what you did.
That's what they did in 2016.
Und wenn du wegfallen solltest, dann Satan wird einfach mal diese kleine böse Schatztruhe auftun und dich daran erinnern und kannst du erinnern, was sie tat und was er tat und so weiter.
So
Das ist
everything,
genau das, was sie 2016 tat.
it says here, nothing will be left out. So everything will be brought against you. Okay?
Nichts wird ausgelassen. Also
Now we
alles wird gegen
We
dich
still
gebracht.
can smile over this, but it
So,
won't be funny.
jetzt
Okay.
gerade können wir runzeln
It's not
darüber,
nice when
aber
you're
das
the
wird
center
nicht angenehm
of
werden.
attention.
Okay, so the point is that this is what will happen. Okay,
Also, das ist, was geschehen wird.
and you will receive these filthy garments. Okay,
Du wirst diese schmutzige Gewände bekommen.
okay, and when we go now back to our notes,
So, wenn wir zurück zu den Notizen gehen,
so here you have these filthy garments on.
so hier hast du diese schmutzige Gewände an.
When basically Satan now accuses you through his agents day and night.
Wo Satan dich anklagt durch seinen Agenten Tag und Nacht.
Okay, so let's go now to the next quote,
Zur nächsten Zitat, jetzt in den Notizen.
21 MR,
21 MR.
because this speaks now about the scenario of Joshua.
Denn das hier spricht über diese Szene über Josua.
And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And the Lord said unto Satan, The Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a branch plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel. Joshua here represents the people of God, and Satan, pointing to their filthy garments, claims them as his property, over which he has a right to exercise his cruel power. But these very ones have improved the hours of probation to confess their sins with contrition of soul and put them away, and Jesus has written pardon against their names. Those who have not ceased to sin and who have not repented and sought for pardon of their transgressions are not represented in this company. For this company vex their souls over their corruptions and iniquity abounding around them, and God will recognize those who are sighing and crying because of the abominations done in the land. They were not mixed up in these abominations. They had not corrupted their ways before God, but had washed their robes of character and had made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Satan pointed to their sins which had not yet been blotted out, and which he had tempted them to commit, and then reviled them as being sinners clad with filthy garments. But Jesus changes their appearance. And so he changes the appearance when he says, take away the filthy garments and put on the white garments, right?
Verändert deren Ansehen, wenn sagt, nimmt den schmutzigen Gewände weg und zieht diesen weißen an.
Okay, but when we go at the beginning of this paragraph,
Aber
the second paragraph,
Anfang von diesem zweiten Absatz.
it says, those who have not ceased to sin and who have not repented and sought pardon for their transgressions are not represented in this company. Okay, so I'm open to this, but as we can read from here, you can see that basically you must have ceased from practicing sin. Right?
Also ich bin dafür offen, aber wie wir lesen können hiervon, also du musst schon aufgehört haben, Sünde zu begehen.
So you should not practice sin,
So keine Sünde praktizieren.
but we will see now that still in this day of atonement you still have opportunity to confess sin. Okay?
Aber wie wir sehen, hier in diesen Versöhnungstagen hast du immer noch Gelegenheit, Sünde zu bekennen.
Okay, but sin that you were not aware of.
Aber das sind Sünden, von denen du nicht bewusst warst.
Okay, so let's look at this.
Lass uns das anschauen.
Okay. Let's go, because we read that on the Day of Atonement, what was provided?
Also wir haben gelesen am Versöhnungstag, was war gegeben?
Yes, a sacrifice, a sin offering, right?
Ein Opfer, ein Sündopfer.
But now let's go to Numbers 29,
So, lasst
it's
uns
also in your
jetzt,
notes,
das ist in den Notizen zur 4. Buch Mose 29,
and let's read verse 7 to 11.
die Verse 7 bis 11.
Numbers 29, verse 7 to 11.
4. Buch Mose 29, Verse 7 bis 11.
It says, and ye shall have on the 10th day of the 7th month an holy convocation. So 10th day of 7th month, what day is it?
Zum 10. Tag des 7. Monats, welchen Tag ist das?
Day of Atonement, right?
Das ist der Versöhnungstag.
So there should be a holy convocation.
So eine heilige Versammlung.
And ye shall afflict your souls. Okay, so what are you to do on the Day of Atonement?
Was sollst du tun am Versöhnungstag?
Afflict your souls, right?
Deine Seele peinigen.
So, afflict your souls. And this obviously goes on until the very end, until he says it is done. Okay.
Und das geschieht ganz bis zu Ende, bis zu der Punkt, wo er sagt, es ist getan.
Okay. Let's continue.
Lesen wir weiter.
And you shall not do any work therein. Okay. So what are you not to do in there?
Was sollst du nicht an diesem Tag tun?
Okay. No work.
Kein Werk, keine Arbeit sollst du tun.
Yes.
Du solltest aufhören vom eigenen Werk.
Okay. So let's go to keep your finger here. Let's go to Exodus in our Bibles into Exodus chapter 20.
So, halte den Platz hier und geht zum 2. Buch Mose 20 in unserer Bibel.
Let's read verses 8 to 10.
Und die Verse 8 bis 10 lesen wir.
It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Okay, so on the Sabbath day, what could we read?
So, am Sabbattag, was können wir lesen?
What were you not to do?
Was sollst du nicht tun?
Any work, right?
Kein Werk, keine Arbeit.
But it said here in verse 9,
Aber im Vers 9 sagt es,
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, right?
6 Tage sollst du arbeiten, all dein Werk tun.
So on the 7th day you were to cease from your own work,
7.
right?
Tag sollst du ablassen vom eigenen Werk.
So I just want to take this principle that when it says here no work, it means you have to refrain from your own works.
So,
Okay?
dieses Prinzip hier, wo es sagt, keine Arbeit, ist es, du sollst ablassen vom eigenen Werk.
Because in a final test, what are you being tested on?
Denn in der finale Test, wonach wirst du getestet? You're going to do the work.
Yes, if you're going to do the work, right?
Wenn du das, ob du nun das Werk Gottes tust oder nicht.
Yes, and which work?
Also welches Werk?
Yeah, the work that the Lord sets out in His work, His word, right?
Das Werk, die der Herr in sein Wort dir vorlegt.
Because the Lord tests you whether you obey His word or whether you obey your own works, right?
Der Herr testet dich, ob du nun sein Wort gehorcht oder deine eigenen Worte.
You see that in Hebrews 4 also.
Kannst du auch in Hebräer 4 sehen.
Those that enter into his rest have ceased from their own works.
Also diejenigen,
Yes.
die in die Ruhe eingekehrt sind, haben von eigenen Werken abgelassen.
Yes, and this would be entering here at the end, right?
Und das wäre dann hier, wo in die Ruhe einkehrt.
Proven that you
Yes.
ceased from your own works.
Yes.
Zum Beweis, dass du vom eigenen Werken
So
abgelassen
the
hast.
test, you prove it, and then you get permitted to enter.
So, in der Test beweist du es und dann bekommst du Erlaubnis hinein in die Ruhe zu gehen.
Okay, so now let's go back to Numbers 29.
So, zurück zur 4. Buch Mose 29 in die Notizen.
Because we read verse 7,
Vers 7 haben wir gelesen,
where it spoke about the Day of Atonement. Right?
sprach über den Versöhnungstag.
And now let's continue verse 8 to 11.
Und lesen wir weiter die Verse 8 bis 11.
It says, But ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord for sweet silver, 1 bullock, 1 ram, and 7 lambs of the first year. They shall be unto you without blemish. So we can see that on the Day of Atonement there were even more offerings being made.
So,
Okay.
wir können sehen, am Versöhnungstag es war sogar noch mehr Opfergaben, die gebracht wurden.
Yes, so there's burnt offerings. Now verse 9.
Jetzt Vers 9.
And their meat offering shall be of flour mingled with oil, 3/10 deals of a bullock to a bullock, and 2/10 deals to 1 ram. A several tenth deal of 1 lamb throughout the 7 lambs. And now verse 11 is the
Vers 11.
important one. 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, beside the sin offering of atonement, and the continual burnt offering, and the meat offering of it, and their drink offerings. So we can see here in verse 11
So, in Vers 11 können wir sehen,
how many kinds of sin offering were offered here.
wie viele Arten von Sündopfer würde hier gebracht.
2, right?
2.
It says 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, beside the sin offering of atonement. What was the sin offering of atonement?
So, was war der Sündopfer der Versöhnung?
Yeah, the Lord's Cook, right?
So, des Herrn Bock.
Okay. So, but it says here, beside this sin offering, another kid of the goat was to be offered.
Aber
Right?
es sagt hier außer diese Sündopfer, sondern ein weiterer Ziegenbock oder Böcklein soll aufgeopfert werden.
Yes, everybody
Amen.
sees this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
No, you also? Verse 11.
Vers 11.
So, 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering. Yeah, so that's sin offering, and then it says beside the sin offering of atonement. So beside says means
Also.
basically also. Okay. And the continual burnt offering. Yeah, so the continual burnt offering, the daily offering, was also to be made.
Also diese
Is it still the
angehende
day?
Brandopfer, also das tägliche Opfer soll auch gemacht werden.
Okay. So
The
in this,
3 offering.
yes.
So, das wäre dann 3 Opfern.
Okay. Yes, and even in verse 8 there were other burnt offerings to be made, right?
Sogar in Vers 8 gab es weitere Brandopfer, die gemacht werden sollen.
Yes? Everybody sees this?
Kann
Because
jeder das
it's
sehen?
important.
Das
Okay.
ist wichtig.
Okay, so now go to the quote above.
So, jetzt geht wieder hinauf in die Notizen zu Zitat darüber. CIS 215.
This is now taken from Stephen Haskell.
Das ist von Stephen Haskell entnommen.
Okay. It says, in the earthly sanctuary, the high priest paused in the first apartment to touch the horns of the golden altar and cleanse it from all sins that had been transferred to it. For while the services of the Day of Atonement were going forward, if one remembered unconfessed sins, he could still bring his sin offering and be forgiven. So while our high priest officiates before the Father in the investigative judgment, anyone who realizes he's a sinner can come confessing his sins and be forgiven through the merits of Christ, the great sin bearer. So what was he saying here?
So, was sagt er hier?
It says in the first sentence after the semicolon,
So, im ersten Satz nach diesem Kolon.
it says, for while the services of the Day of Atonement were going forward, if one remembered unconfessed sins, he could still bring his sin offering and be forgiven. Okay, so what kind of sins could still be forgiven on the Day of Atonement.
So am Versöhnungstag, was für Sünden konnten noch vergeben werden?
Ones that you've forgotten about.
Yes.
Diejenigen, die in Vergessenheit
Yeah.
geraten sind.
If something popped into your remembrance and you realize, oh, I forgot to confess those things.
Also wenn du plötzlich erinnerst an irgendetwas, wo du denkst, das habe ich noch nicht bekannt.
Okay. This. Yeah. And Mark, can you also open the other window a little bit? Okay. So basically, we can see that here still confession can be made.
So wir können sehen, dass hierin kann immer noch Sündenbekenntnis abgegeben werden.
But it's those sins that you forgotten about or that you don't know of. Okay.
Aber es ist gerade die Sünden, die in Vergessenheit geraten sind oder sogar, dass du gar nichts darüber wusstest.
Okay. Yeah. And you want to make one?
Yeah, well, no, maybe you'll come to it, but I'm going to say which, because you're afflicting your souls, right?
Also du peinigst deine Seelen in dieser Zeit.
And because it's the Lord that has to reveal it to you, right?
Also es ist der Herr, der diese Sünden dir offenbaren sollte.
So
Muss.
it's the revelation, right?
Es ist der Offenbarung.
Where it's revealed. Okay, you
No, okay. So, just to make this point then now,
So nur um diesen Punkt jetzt da zu bringen.
because we read this, so let's just go to Leviticus 23. Sorry.
Lasst uns so 3. Buch Mose 23 gehen. Dritte Mose 23.
Let's begin in verse 27
Und im Vers 27 fangen wir an.
and let's read down to verse 29.
Wir lesen bis 29.
It says, also in the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is the day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. Okay, so we saw we need to afflict our souls in here, right?
Also wir haben gesehen, dass hierin sollst du deine Seelen peinigen.
And whoever does not afflict his soul will be cut off.
Und
Right?
wer diese Werk nicht tut, wird
So
abgeschnitten
why do
werden.
you afflict your souls here?
So warum peinigst du dir deine Seelen hier?
search for sin that you may have forgotten.
Yes.
So, um
Ja.
Sünden nachzuforschen, die möglicherweise du
You need to
vergessen
make
hast.
sure that before the high priest blots out the sins, all your records are clean, right?
So, du musst sicherstellen, dass noch bevor der hohe Priester die Sünden austilgt, ja, dass deine Tafel,
Eine Aufzeichnung.
deine Aufzeichnung rein ist.
Yeah, before it is done,
Sondern
Ja.
bevor es ist getan,
everything needs to be confessed.
alles
Okay?
muss bekannt sein.
So
Okay, so you need time to do that, right?
yes,
So, du brauchst Zeit, um dies zu tun.
You can't come in and examine you before you've had time to do that work, right?
So, er kann nicht hineinkommen, um dich zu untersuchen, noch
Yes.
bevor du Zeit hast, dieses Werk zu tun.
so basically, you need now to search your hearts. You need to humble yourself, and this would give the Lord permission to bring things into your remembrance. Okay.
So, du musst dein Herzen durchforschen und die Seelen peinigen, und das werde dann dem Herrn den Erlaubnis geben, Sachen in deine Erinnerung zu rufen.
Because what does it say? If you don't afflict your souls, what will happen with you?
So, was sagt es, wenn du deine Seelen nicht peinigst? Was wird mit dir
You will be
geschehen?
cut off. So what does it
That's-
mean? What is the conclusion from
Du
this?
wirst abgeschnitten werden. Also was heißt das? Was ist der Schlussfolgerung von all dies?
You have to find the sins that are hidden, and you have to be revealed.
Yes.
Also
So-
du musst diese Sünden finden, die verborgen
That's why
sind.
you do
Und
it.
die mussten
So when you
offenbart werden.
Come into this time period here.
Wenn du in diese Zeitperiode hineinkommst,
Every one of us will have sins that he still needs to confess.
jeder einzelne von uns werden Sünden haben, die wir noch bekennen müssen.
Things that you might have forgotten about,
So Sachen, die du möglicherweise vergessen hast.
or that you don't even have realized about
Du bist
yourself.
noch nicht
Okay.
mal bewusst darüber.
Yeah. So, or you don't, you're not even,
Oder du bist noch nicht mal bewusst darüber.
Okay.
Not the same?
no, not really, but doesn't matter. It's okay. Okay. So it shows us that this is a necessary work, and if you don't do it, there will be still sins remaining in your books, and you will be cut off.
So, es zeigt uns, dass dies ein Werk ist, der notwendig ist zu tun, und wenn du es nicht tust, dann wird es immer noch Sünden auf deiner Aufzeichnung bleiben und du wirst abgeschnitten werden.
Okay. And when we go now to Joshua chapter 20,
So, wenn wir jetzt zu Josua Kapitel 20 gehen,
it's also in your notes.
das ist auch in den Notizen, ein bisschen hinunter.
Joshua 20, verse 3 to 5,
Josua 20, Verse 3 bis 5.
speaks about the refuge city.
Er spricht über den Zufluchtsstaat.
And when you enter into the refuge city, what happened to you?
Und wenn du in der Zufluchtsstadt hineinkommst, was geschah mit
Well,
dir?
in order to enter, what first needs to take place?
Oder um in der Stadt hineinkommen zu können, was muss zuerst stattfinden?
Judgment.
Yes, investigation, right? A judgment.
Eine Untersuchung, also ein Gericht.
So, and when you're judged, what also happens to you?
Und wenn du gerichtet wirst, was geschieht mit dir noch?
To burn.
Yes, you
Du
have
hast
the
ein
birth.
Gebot.
Right? So the judgment, therefore, takes place before they allow you to enter the city.
Also das Gericht findet statt, noch bevor sie dir erlauben, in den Stadt hineinzukommen.
Okay, and in the sanctuary, what did we parallel this with?
Und in das Heiligtum, mit was haben wir das parallel gestellt?
Yeah, the first veil, right?
Also durch den ersten Vorhang.
It's the first foreskin that is taken away from your heart,
Das
right?
ist die erste Vorhaut, der von deinem Herz entfernt
Yeah,
wird.
the circumcision of your heart, which is a birth.
Die Beschneidung deines Herzens, was ein Gebot ist.
And then we understand there was even a second judgment, right?
Und dann haben wir verstanden, dass es sogar ein zweites Gericht gab.
The judgment of the congregation,
So, das Gericht der Versammlung,
which is the second veil in the sanctuary, right?
was das zweite Vorhang im Heiligtum ist.
Yes.
Amen.
So now let's go to Joshua chapter 20, verse 3 to 5.
So Josua 20, Verse 3 bis 5.
That the slayer that killeth any person unawares and unwittingly may flee thither, and they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. And when he that doth flee unto one of those cities shall stand at the entering of the gate of the city, and shall declare his cause in the ears of the elders of that city, they shall take him into the city unto them, and give him a place that he may dwell among them. And if the avenger of blood pursue after him, then they shall not deliver the slayer up into his hand, because he smote his neighbor unwittingly, and hated him not before time. So, when you come into this investigation of the elders,
So, wenn du in diese Untersuchung von Ältesten kommst,
what kind of sin can you not present?
so, welche Art von Sünde kannst du nicht darbringen?
Willful.
Willful sin.
Also
Okay.
absichtlich oder
So,
willentlich
but-
sündigen.
Unknown sin,
Aber
ja.
unbekannte Sünde,
this is something that the Lord will not hold you accountable.
das
Ja.
ist eine Sache, wofür der Herr dich nicht
Unless-
ins Rechenschaft ziehen wird.
Yes, unless He revealed it to you.
Es sei denn, dass er dich es geoffenbart hat.
Okay, so now let's go to the next quote.
So, zur nächsten Zitat, das ist wieder hinauf.
Because we understand Isaiah 6, what does it represent?
Denn wir verstehen Jesaja 6, was stellt es dar?
The condition of God's people in the last days.
Yes, and it also illustrates the Day of Atonement, right?
Der Zustand von Gottes Volk im letzten Tag, aber auch der Versöhnungstag.
Okay, so now let's jump over this first quote and let's go to the next one, beginning with Isaiah had a wonderful view.
So, lasst uns über diesen Zitat überspringen und gehen wir zu dem nächsten, wo es sagt, Jesaja hat eine wunderschöne Ansicht oder eine herrliche Ansicht.
It says, Isaiah had a wonderful view of God's glory. He saw the manifestation of God's power, and after beholding his majesty, a message came to him to go and do a certain work. He felt wholly unworthy for the work. What made him esteem himself unworthy? Did he think himself unworthy before he had a view of God's glory? No, he imagined himself in a righteous state before God. But when the glory of the Lord of hosts was revealed to him, when he beheld the inexpressible majesty of God, he said, I'm undone, and so on and so forth. So
Confessed.
he confessed something, right?
Er hat was bekannt.
It was something that he was not aware of.
Das war eine
right?
Sache, dem er nicht wusste.
Because in the next quote we understand, just let's read the bold-faced.
So, in der nächsten Zitat, lass uns den fettgedruckten lesen.
It's again about Isaiah.
Spricht wieder über Jesaja.
It says, the light of the glory of God will reveal all the hidden evil and bring the soul to the place of humble confession. Okay, so you will confess something there,
Du
right?
willst was da bekennen.
And where do we understand is Isaiah confessing
Und wo ist es
in this illustration?
Wo ist es in dieser Darstellung? Verstehen wir, wo Jesaja was bekennt?
Once he said the revelation.
Yes. So where would this be? On
Wenn
our-
er die Offenbarung gehabt hat, also wo wäre denn dies?
This is the point. We have to establish where he has the revelation.
It's at the very end, right, that Isaiah makes this humble confession.
Es
Right?
ist genau am Ende, wo Jesaja diese demütige Bekenntnis abgibt.
Yes?
Amen.
Okay. So we can see, therefore, from the very beginning to the very end, the Lord will show you things about yourself that you still need to confess.
So,
Okay.
wir können sehen, dass vom Anfang bis zu ganz am Ende der Herr wird dir Sachen zeigen, denen du bekennen musst.
Okay? Yeah, but sins that you forgot about
Das sind Sünden, die du vielleicht vergessen hast
or that you were not really aware of.
oder dass du vielleicht nicht ganz im Bewusst
It will
darüber
be
warst.
that as well, because when you see his glory, you will realize things you've never really understood before. Also,
Yes.
Wenn du seine Herrlichkeit siehst, dann wirst du Sachen verstehen, die du vorher nicht verstanden hast. Auch.
Everybody follows so far?
Kann jeder folgen?
Or did I lose somebody?
Oder habe ich jemanden verloren? No?
A question. So, but the revelation starts with the first holy. So at the beginning, it's also beginning to be revealed, and
Yes.
at the end, it's
But at the end he makes the confession, right?
okay.
So bei der erste heilig, also fängt an die Offenbarung und am Ende gibt er den Bekenntnis.
Because what happens at the end?
Denn was geschieht am Ende?
Holy, 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 right?
So heilig, heilig,
We
heilig.
put Isaiah is mourning day and night, right?
Jesaja klagt Tag und Nacht.
And at the end he has this revelation,
Und
right?
am Ende hat er diese Offenbarung.
At midnight, like Ezekiel was mourning day and night, and at the end, at midnight, 5th day of the 4th month, right, he receives the revelation.
So,
Right?
Hesekiel hat gewehklagt Tag und Nacht und dann am 5. Tag des 4. Monats am Ende hat er die Offenbarung erhalten.
the clouds are drawn back.
Yes, the clouds are drawn back.
Und die
Right?
Wolken werden zurückgezogen.
Okay, and then holy, 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 and at the end, after the third holy, what happens?
So heilig, heilig, heilig und am Ende, was
Woe is
geschieht?
me, right?
Wer ist mir?
He confesses his unworthiness,
Er bekennt seine Unwürdigkeit.
and what happens then?
Und was geschieht dann?
Sins are blotted out.
So, die
Right?
Sünden sind ausgetilgt.
Okay, so
So that
brings you to the
has to
very
be
end.
the point when the Father comes in and examines him.
So, das muss dann der Punkt sein, wo der Vater hineinkommt und
Because he's given him
untersucht.
opportunity now to confess all the sins, because he gave him the opportunity by providing a sin offering.
So,
Yes.
er hat ihm die Gelegenheit gegeben, jetzt Sünden zu bekennen, indem dass er ein Sündopfer dafür
So
brachte.
he's only going to come in after he's given you opportunity to do that.
Er wird nur hineinkommen, um zu untersuchen, nachdem er dir Gelegenheit gegeben hat, dies zu tun.
Yes. So let's remind ourselves maybe of this quote here.
So, lasst uns daran erinnern, an diesen ein Zitat. Ist jetzt in der Livestream, oder kommt jetzt in der Livestream. Das Deutsche folgt. So.
So it says here, Jesus does not excuse their sins. So she's commenting also on Zechariah chapter 3,
So,
Okay.
sie kommentiert über Sacharja 3,
where Satan accuses and Christ defends.
da wo Satan anklagt und Christus
It
verteidigt.
says Jesus does not excuse their sins, but shows their penitence and faith, and claiming for them forgiveness, He lifts his wounded hands before the Father and the holy angels, saying, I know them by name. I have graven them on the palms of my hands. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O God, thou wilt not despise. And to the accuser of his people he declares, The Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Zechariah 3 verse 2. Okay, and now it says,
Dann sagt es,
Christ will clothe his faithful ones with his own righteousness. Because it said, the Lord rebuked thee, and then it says, take away the filthy garments,
sagte
right?
der Herr tadel dich und dann nimmt ihm den schmutzigen Gewänder weg
And give him a change of raiment.
und
Right?
gibt ihm einen Wechsel an Kleidung.
That's also what described here.
Das ist auch das, was hier beschrieben
Everybody
ist.
sees this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
Yes, this is very important now.
Sehr wichtig jetzt.
Anybody doesn't see it?
Wenn jeder, sieht es jemand nicht?
Daniela, you see it?
Siehst du
Soll
das?
ich das nochmal sagen?
Okay. So it says here, she quotes here Zechariah 3 verse 2.
Sie zitiert Zachariah 3, Vers 2.
It says, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Zechariah 3 verse 2. Right?
Zachariah 3, Vers 2.
Also delivered in Daniel 3.
Yes. So, and then it says,
Dann sagt es,
because when he rebukes Satan, he says, take away the filthy garments
er tadelt Satan, er sagt, nimmt ihm den schmutzigen Gewänder weg,
and give him a change of raiment.
gibt ihm
Right?
einen Wechsel an Kleidung.
Okay. So it says here, Christ will clothe his faithful ones with his own righteousness. That's now the
So seine eigene
Change of
Gerechtigkeit
raiment,
ist dieser Wechsel an Kleidung.
that he may present them to his Father, a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such things.
Investigation.
So, what is Jesus now doing after he took away the filthy garments and put on the white garments?
So, was tut Jesus, nachdem er den schmutzigen Gewänder wegnahm und den
Yes, he's
reinen
now
Gewänder
presenting
anzog?
it before the Father, right?
Er präsentiert dich vor dem Vater.
And this is now when he confesses you before the Father,
Das ist
right?
da, wo er dich vor dem Vater bekennt.
Okay. So this must be then here at the very end,
So, das
right?
muss hier genau am Ende sein.
Because when only can you have this white garment on?
So, wann ist es nur, dass du diesen weißen Gewand anhaben kannst?
Before Isaiah saw his hidden evil or after Isaiah saw his hidden evil?
So, noch bevor Jesaja seine verborgenen Sünde oder Bösheit sah oder nachdem?
After, right? So
Nachdem natürlich.
Isaiah made this final confession.
So, Jesaja machte diese letzte Bekenntnis.
Christ puts on this white garment
Christus zieht den weißen Gewänder über
and brings you before the Father,
und präsentiert dich vor dem Vater.
and the Father sees, all right, everything is clean. He's done.
Und der
Okay.
Vater sieht, alles ist rein, okay, der ist fertig.
And the sins get blotted out.
Die Sünden werden ausgetilgt.
So all these things happen here right at the very end.
All
Okay.
diese Sachen, die geschehen gerade hier am Ende.
Okay, and then it says in the last sentence,
Im letzten Satz es sagt,
their names stand enrolled in the book of life, and concerning them is written, they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. Okay, so what happened now to your name?
so, was ist mit deinem Namen geschehen?
In the book.
Yes, it's now bleibt geschrieben, remains now in the book of life, right?
Es bleibt in das Buch des Lebens niedergeschrieben.
Okay.
And she quotes there Revelation 3, right?
Und sie zitiert Offenbarung
Yes,
3,
we-
Vers 4.
Okay, let's go there. Okay.
So, lass uns dahin. Offenbarung 3, Vers 4.
We need to make a document. We need to make one huge document with every proof on there.
Yes.
Quickly come to.
Okay, so let's begin in verse 4 and let's read down to verse 5.
Vers 4 und Vers 5.
It says, Thou hast a few names even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. Okay, so in this time here, when Satan puts on the filthy garments, what are you not to do?
So, in dieser Zeit, wo Satan diese schmutzige Gewänder ansieht, was sollst du nicht tun?
You are not to defile your garment,
So,
right?
du sollst deine Gewand nicht beschmutzen.
Okay. And then in verse 5,
Vers 5.
He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment. So, when are you clothed in white raiment?
So, wann wirst du in weiße Gewänder angezogen?
Yeah, when you overcome,
wenn
right?
du überwindest.
And we saw they overcame the accuser of the brethren through their testimony
Wir haben gesehen, dass sie den Anklager der Brüder durch deren Zeugnis überwunden haben,
unto death, right?
bis aufs Tod.
So in face of death they made the final confession.
Angesichts des Todes haben sie diese finale Bekenntnis abgelegt.
Okay. And because it says here,
Denn es sagt,
and I will not blot out his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. So when you overcome through your testimony,
wenn du überwindest durch dein Zeugnis.
yes,
That's when the Father's writing the names in or out.
yes,
So, das ist der Punkt, wo der Vater die Namen rein und rausschreibt.
because Jesus said, if you confess me, I will
So, Jesus sagt, wenn du mich
confess you
bekennst, ich
before
werde deinen
the
Namen
Father and the angels.
vor den
Right?
Vater und den Engeln
And
bekennen.
this is exactly what is written here in
Das
verse
ist
5.
genau das, was hier in Vers 5 geschrieben ist.
And when he confesses you, what will not happen with your name?
Wenn er dich bekennt, was wird nichts mit deinem Namen geschehen?
Will not be blotted out.
Wird nichts
Okay.
ausgetilgt werden.
And this is what we read in the quote here in GC.
Und das
Right?
ist das, was wir in dem Zitat vom großen Kampf gelesen haben.
Okay. So let me just check. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 4.
So lass uns zu Jesaja Kapitel 4 gehen.
Okay. And let's begin in verse 2.
Jesaja 4 und wir fangen in Vers 2 an.
I'm going to read verse 2 down to verse 4.
Vers 2 bis 4.
Isaiah 4.
Jesaja 4, Verse 2 bis 4.
It says, in that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. So in verse 2,
Vers 2.
what is it? What is mentioned here?
Was wird hier genannt?
Yes, the branch, right?
Der Zweig.
Who became a branch?
So wer ist ein
Or the
Zweig
branch.
geworden? Oder der Zweig.
Joshua,
geworden?
right?
Josua.
Everybody knows this?
Jeder weiß das?
Okay. And Zechariah 3,
Zachariah 3.
after his
Behold the branch.
sins are taken away, he's a branch, right?
Nachdem die Sünden weggenommen sind, ist der Zweig geworden.
Okay. And then verse 3.
Dann Vers 3.
So it speaks about here the branch, right? So
Spricht
this is
hier
when you become the branch,
Über den Zweig.
when it says it is done.
Und
Okay.
er sagt, es ist getan.
Verse 3.
Vers 3.
And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy. So what are you now when you
Was bist
are
du
the
jetzt,
branch?
wenn du der Zweig geworden bist?
You're holy.
Das ist
Okay.
heilig
Not before.
und nicht davor.
Yes. Okay, so now you're holy.
Jetzt bist du heilig.
Even everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem. So what are you now when you're holy?
Was bist du jetzt, wenn du heilig bist?
You're written among the living.
Du bist niedergeschrieben
Because your name was
unter den
not
Lebendigen.
blotted out of the book of
Weil dein
the
Name
life,
ist
right?
nicht aus dem Buch des Lebens ausgetilgt worden.
It says the book of remembrance, and it links you to Luke 10.
Also das Buch der Erinnerung, Verbindung mit Lukas 10.
Remember?
Hmm.
It linked it to Luke 10 when Satan, because we marked the cross there, right?
Yes.
When lightning comes down from heaven,
Wo das Blitz vom Himmel herabkommt.
it says you
Um,
rejoice not because now the devils listen to you, but because your names are
written in heaven.
Also frohlocke nicht, dass die Teufel euch gehorchen, sondern vielmehr darüber, dass euer Namen im Himmel niedergeschrieben sind.
Remember the
Die
70
70.
when they were coming,
Das
right?
war die 70,
Yes. So you have also the 70.
das
Yeah.
habe ich hier auch markiert.
They are this organized church, the branch,
Sie
right?
sind diese organisierte Gemeinde, der Zweig.
Okay. Then verse 4.
Dann Vers 4.
Or let's just read verse 3 and 4 just to have the context.
Und Verse 3 und 4 lesen
It
wir.
says, and it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion, and because there was a shaking going on,
Weil
right?
es eine Sichtung gab.
And he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. Okay, So what is he doing to make you this holy branch?
So was
before?
tut diesen heiligen Zweig zu machen, zu
Throws you
formen?
in the fire.
Yeah, it throws you into this fiery furnace,
So
right?
durch diesen Feuerofen wirft.
To come
Ja.
face to face with death, like the
Uns vor
three Hebrew boys,
Angesicht
right?
des Todes, wie die 3 Hebräerjungs.
And you know, in this fiery furnace, and
Diese Feuerofen.
all these remaining things will be burned out.
Und all diese übrigen Sachen werden hinausgeläutert oder gebrannt werden.
Okay, so now I want to leave you with one final thought. Okay,
So, eine letzte Gedanke möchte ich hinterlassen.
let's go to Revelation chapter 8.
Lass uns zu Offenbarung Kapitel 8 gehen.
And I think this is something that, I'm positive, this is something that the Lord will unfold to us very soon.
Ich bin mir sicher, dass dies eine Sache ist, die der Herr sehr bald uns auftun wird.
Okay, let's go to Revelation 8.
Offenbarung 8.
And let's begin in verse 3.
Und wir fangen Vers
To
3
five.
an. Die Verse 3 bis 5.
It says, "And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand." So, which item of the sanctuary is marked here?
So, welcher Heiligtumgegenstand wird hier?
Yes, the golden altar, which is the altar of incense, right?
Das goldene Altar, das ist das
And where
Weihwasser.
was it placed in the sanctuary?
Ins Heiligtum, wo war
In
das?
the holy place, right?
Heilige,
So, not in the most holy.
nicht im Allerheiligsten.
And the holy place was connected with which service?
Und das Heilige ist in Verbindung
Daily
mit welchem
service, okay.
Dienst? Also das tägliche.
So now let's read verse 5.
Vers 5.
And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Okay, so what does it mark now when he takes the censer and fills it with the coals and casts it down?
So, was markiert das, wenn er diesen Räuchergefäß füllt mit diesen Kohlen und werft es nieder?
Yes, it's the fire coming down from heaven,
Es
right?
ist Gericht, es ist das Feuer, der vom Himmel fällt.
Yes. Okay,
Die 7 Posaunen schattet die 7 Plagen für uns.
and he stops now his intercession here, right?
Und er hört seinen Fürbittedienst hier auf.
But you know, that's always what I ask myself: why? And says White confirms this is the close of ovation, right?
Und White bestätigt, dies ist der Schluss der Gnade.
So why is the daily service marked here, leading up to the close of ovation?
Warum
Okay.
ist das tägliche Dienst hier markiert, der führt bis zur Schluss der Gnadenzeit?
Okay, so what is the atonement actually?
Was ist der Versöhnung?
Because the word atonement
So das Wort in Englischen Versöhnung,
means at-one-ment.
das
Okay.
heißt eins mit eins sein.
You're now made one with the Lord.
Du bist eins mit dem Herrn gemacht.
Okay, this is, and when is the atonement or consummated? Let's say it like this.
Und wann ist die Versöhnung vollendet oder
Vollzogen.
vollzogen?
When are you fully made one with the Lord?
Wann bist du eins mit dem Herrn vollständig?
Yes, when your sins are
Wenn
blotted
deine
out, right?
Sünden ausgetilgt sind.
So this is basically when the atonement is finished or fully accomplished. Okay.
So, das ist hier, wenn der Versöhnung vollständig erreicht ist oder abgeschlossen ist.
Okay. And then it says it is done, right?
Er sagt, es ist getan.
And with what does Sister White compare it is done?
Und mit was vergleicht Ellen White, es ist getan?
It is
Es
finished,
ist
right?
vollbracht.
And it is finished was mentioned on the
Und es ist vollbracht,
on the
würde
cross.
am Kreuz erwähnt.
So at the 9th hour, right?
9. Stunde.
And what happened with Satan here?
Und was geschah mit Satan hier?
Was cast out. Right?
Hinausgeworfen.
So the cross, and when it says it is finished, and the Day of Atonement, when it says it is done, is the same atonement.
So,
Okay.
das Kreuz, wo es sagt, es ist vollbracht, und das Versöhnungstag, wo es ist getan, es ist derselbe Söhne.
Mhm. So this is when the atonement is now fully accomplished, and you're now one with God.
So, da ist der Versöhnung vollständig abgeschlossen und du bist eins mit dem Herrn.
Because the Lord now fills you with His Spirit, right?
Der Herr dich mit seinem Geist füllst.
Okay, so the combination of humanity and divinity now fully takes place, right? You're
Von-
one with God.
Bindung von Göttlichkeit und Menschlichkeit findet vollständig statt. Du bist jetzt eins mit Gott.
Okay, and when Christ said, "It is finished," on the cross,
Christus sagt, es ist vollbracht am Kreuz.
what also ceased according to Daniel chapter 9?
Gemäß Daniel 9, was ist auch zu Ende gekommen.
Yeah, the daily
Das
sacrifice, right?
tägliche Opferdienst.
Okay, so and we saw that here Revelation 8
Und wir haben gesehen, hier Offenbarung 8,
brings us the daily service even unto the very end, right?
das tägliche Dienst bis zum Ende bringt.
So we must understand that even though the Day of Atonement was the yearly service,
So,
right,
obwohl das Versöhnungstag das alljährliche Dienst
Ja.
war,
there was still, the Lord wants to show us there's a daily service running parallel
der
with it.
möchte uns zeigen, ist, das tägliche Dienst läuft parallel dazu.
And therefore was this daily offering also made there. Okay.
Deswegen war diese tägliche Opfergabe auch da gemacht.
Okay.
It only had one in the morning. The point was it had no evening one.
Yes,
Because it was done. That's why the lamb jumped off the table.
So, well, it did. Christ was the evening one, right?
What?
Christ was the evening sacrifice.
What were you talking
Yes,
about?
but it was not the daily anymore.
No, of course not. It
Was
did.
What are you talking about the evening sacrifice?
It's at the 9th hour, right? It was the evening sacrifice, and Christ said it's finished.
No, it's
the
already
evening
done
sacrifice.
then. Though. There's no. Normally they would have an evening sacrifice and he would bring another offering, but it was done. So the lamb jumped off the table.
No, no,
He'd
no.
already finished.
Because he done it, he fulfilled it. That's what I mean. So he was the second on that day.
He
That's what I
went on
mean.
the cross in the morning.
Yes, and he died at the evening.
Yeah, but the daily, basically, the daily
Also,
sacrifice ceased there.
Das tägliche hörte da auf.
Okay, so good. So I don't fully profess to understand, the implication of this daily service leading you down to the very end.
Also
Okay.
ich behaupte nicht zu verstehen, alle Bedeutung, was dieser tägliche Dienst, der ganz bis zum Ende führt, ist.
But you can see it's there, right?
Aber ihr konntet sehen, dass es wohl da ist.
Based upon Revelation chapter 8,
So basierend auf Offenbarung 8.
when he threw down the censer.
Wenn er diesen Weihrauchsgefäß niederwarf.
Okay, so and that I'm positive the Lord will open up, because it will definitely be a very important truth.
Und ich bin sicher, dass der Herr uns das auftun wird, denn das ist eine wichtige Wahrheit.
Okay, so just to summarize,
So, um zusammenzufassen,
so we can see basically here Satan will start to accuse you day and night,
wir können sehen, dass Satan hier anfangen wird, dich Tag und Nacht
Ja.
anzuklagen.
clothe you in filthy garments
Er wird dich in schmutzigen Gewänden anziehen,
by accusing you,
indem dass er dich anklägt.
but you at the same time will need to afflict your souls day and night
Aber zur selben Zeit sollst du deine Seele Tag und Nacht peinigen,
in order to make sure that the Lord, he can reveal to you sins that you might have forgotten,
um sicherzustellen, dass der Herr dir Sünden offenbaren kann, die du möglicherweise vergessen
or,
hast.
or even things or sins that you are not even aware of.
Oder
Okay.
sogar Sachen oder Sünden, von denen du nichts weißt.
Just like, for instance, Isaiah, he got something revealed about himself that he wasn't aware of until the very last moment.
So wie
Ja.
Jesaja, ihm ist eine Sache geoffenbart worden, den er nicht bewusst war, genau bis zum Ende.
So we can see that there's a work of purification going on until the very last minute.
Wir
Okay,
können sehen, dass ein Werk der Reinigung vorangeht bis zur letzten Minute.
okay. And once you made this final confession, the Lord can now put on this white garment on you
So, wenn du diese letzte Bekenntnis abgelegt hast, der Herr kann diese weiße Gewand über
and
dich ziehen
present you before the Father,
und dich vor dem Vater präsentieren.
and the Father will say, yeah, okay, I can now accept this offering.
Und der Vater wird sagen, diese Opfer ist akzeptiert.
Okay, and then your sins will be blotted out.
Deine Sünden werden ausgetilgt.
Okay, and then you become this branch which is this holy branch,
Und dann wirst du dieser Zweig, dieser heilige Zweig werden,
because you are now fully at one with the Lord.
weil du jetzt vollständig eins mit dem Herrn bist.
And this organized church whom he can send forth,
Du bist diese organisierte Gemeinde, dem er voransenden kann.
where now your name is written among the living.
Wo dein Name unter den Lebendigen geschrieben ist.
Amen? Everybody
Amen.
could follow?
Könnte jeder folgen?
Okay. A lot of information, right?
Viel Information.
And we need to go through this over and over again, that get acquainted with these things.
Und wir müssen diese Sachen wieder und mal wieder durchgehen, damit wir damit vertraut werden.
Okay, and I guess we will do this in the next days anyways.
Und ich gehe davon aus, dass in den kommenden Tagen wir diesen Thema weiter behandeln werden.
Okay, then let's close with
Lass uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde abschließen.